Sir? I will obey. What? Pat, what happened here? Colonel, he took the circuits and, well, we tried to stop him, but we were no match for him. He transferred out of here and Nega followed after him. I see. Where did they head off to? The Ark, Master Kai, sir. The Ark? What's that? Oh, it's the huge structure we found before the virus army first attacked. Right, I remember now. The rebel circuits have been nothing but a distraction. The Ark is the source of the virus army. They must have been hiding there all along, waiting for an opportunity to strike. But then, why would Colonel go there? I don't know what he's planning, but I have a bad feeling about this. I'll go after him. Sir, yes, sir. Whenever you're ready to head out, let me know. While you're gone, we will hold down the fort over here. Those virus army cronies are no match for us. I hope. You'll do fine. Show them what you got. Master Kai, thank you. We won't let you down. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Let's Play Gravity Circuit. In the last part, we got all the circuits and, well, we lost all the circuits. That didn't take long. And before we take care of our usual lap around the shops, we might as well talk to everyone. Oh, this is really bad. Somebody took the circuits while I wasn't looking. I hope Colonel won't be mad at me. Well, good and bad news about that. I guess it wasn't so safe here either. I have no idea what made Colonel snap like that, but can anyone really blame him? He's been swarmed with all this virus army business, leaving him little time to relax. The burden of his responsibilities would certainly strain anyone's servos. And while he had his unique mannerisms, he was always looking out for us. Hope he can find some inner peace wherever he is. But never mind that. Here for a new coat of paint, are you? Very well, stand still, please. Cable's pallet ship is interesting, albeit not very useful to me. It effectively makes every second punch you throw also shoot out a relatively weak static bullet. I think it does about the same damage as a single punch. Not too bad for weaker enemies or certain tight platforming sections when enemies are placed weirdly in them. But again, I really do have my preference with the hot-headed red. Next up, a couple of things over here. Now that we've rescued all 64 hostages, the medbay tube is gone and we can grab the character disc for the medic here. Everyone's present and accounted for, thanks to your help. Finally, I can get some rest for myself. It's been a long day. Mood on that. Next up with the nurse. That's odd. Mr. Nega stormed off in an awful hurry. Before he did, he handed some data chips to me. As far as I can tell, they seem to describe various techniques. He told me to sell them off to you for a price, so if you happen to need his wares, just let me know. Nega is no longer in the home base, so now the nurse has both the enhancement chips and the burst techniques available. And at this point, only one enhancement chip remains, and it's the air jumper. It's a double jump. It can be really good for a lot of platforming sections. I just prefer not to use it myself. Oh wow, you've emptied our entire catalog. I'm sure we can help a great many bots with these funds. As for Cable's burst techniques you can purchase, there's the current arc and the burst spark. The current arc, you send a shitload of bullets for it. I think it's like 14 of them total, and from memory, it can do like 5-6 damage total. The burst spark, though, you stand still and you generate a sphere in front of you that you can't move while using, but it can generate a lot of hits very quickly. Not too bad, but at this point, because we have all of them unlocked, and we have every single enhancement chip, I'm gonna start spending every coin I get on making sure I get the rest of the burst techniques before endgame.
Oh dear, what's this ruckus about Colonel disappearing? That sounds very worrisome. Me and him go way back. We both used to be bots working in construction, erecting many buildings throughout the city. However, when the virus army first appeared, he organized the evacuation efforts. As such, it's all thanks to him that I'm still operational today. Such heroism is what led him to becoming the leader of Guardian Corps while you circuits were absent. I hope he'll be alright. At this point, I'm convinced that the Ark holds the secret to what has been happening around here, but I don't have the resources nor the means to go exploring in it. At best, I can only theorize there is something hidden deep within the Ark. Hope that whatever it is, it's not against us. Is Colonel really going towards the Ark? That's curious, that place has always perplexed me. It has this one strange symbol marked all over it, and yet none of the records I've ever seen state what it means. Is it something that Hash is trying to keep secret from me? Maybe. Bizarrely, Alf doesn't get new dialogue until you actually 100% the research compendium. Which, I guess that makes sense, but it is still kind of weird. We are only missing a couple of discs at this point. I think I'm only missing like 3 enemies, 4 characters, and like 3 bosses. I've been sneaking upstairs every so often, and oh, I couldn't really help but notice Colonel acting really strangely. Before I knew it, he suddenly snapped, storming off after an awfully destructive fit. The look he had in his optics, it reminded me of those awful junk bots, almost as though he was struggling to control himself. Did his processors get corrupted somehow, I wonder? Maybe. Oh, do you want to play ball with me? I guess the kid has nothing to say about the situation. I guess that kind of makes sense. Heading out to the Ark? I was part of the mining crew that uncovered it many years ago. I thought it was some bot's secret little hobby project at first. But it's way too large for any single bot to create it on their own. Initially, I'd suspected that maybe the brake circuit had something to do with it, given his expertise in mining. He even told us not to dig in that general area, but we did anyway. Is that why he tried to collapse the mines? To punish us? Makes me wonder. That sounds like a couple of circuits weirdly having limitations on people. Ah, hello, Gravity Circuit. Word going around as you took down the other circuits. Must have been an awful lot of work, and yet the virus army still persists. If you need to take a moment to relax before heading out again, be my guest. Can't go into the final battle all exhausted after all. Ah, see Yuki's back here at HQ. He used to be part of a larger group of patrol bots commanded by Cooler Circuit. With his leadership, Yuki helped with any search and rescue operations high up in the mountains. However, being a bit of a rascal, that little bot never seemed to follow orders, instead usually running around, sometimes even just frolicking in the snow. And yet, he seemed to be one of the only bots the Cooler Circuit enjoyed to spend time with. One of the few occasions where he showed any compassion past that cold exterior of his. Maybe that's why Yuki tried to find his former leader and wound up getting stuck. It's all rather touching, really. We don't deserve dogs. Ah, see, Amadeus has found his way back to the HQ. Despite his small size, he's quite the grumpy one. Before the virus army first appeared, you usually saw him hanging around with the Wave Circuit, almost like a little grumpy mascot of sorts for her. Which was a bit weird, because Amadeus doesn't quite like loud noises. But I guess Wave Circuit managed to soften his grumpy little core. She always had quite a playful and carefree attitude, after all. Maybe he got stuck in the city center because he was looking for her. What a touching reunion that could have been. Oh, what's gotten into Colonel? Like, sure, he's always acted a bit weird, but this? I thought we could trust his leadership. Was my trust misplaced? Good question. So I can technically challenge the endgame level starting now, but there's one more thing I want to do really quick, and that's actually save the game and load an old save to beat Cable earlier in the boss rotation, because there's a couple of lines of dialogue we're only going to be seeing if we do this now. Good work out there. The power plant is now safely back under our control. Now the citizens do not have to worry about working in the dark. Let me know when you're ready to tackle the next mission. I always felt that one was weirdly undercooked. I see you were busy at the power plant earlier. You have my thanks. Your deeds allowed me to go and retrieve my work. It doesn't belong here, but at least now I can finish it in peace. As soon as inspiration strikes again, anyway. But never mind that. Here for a new cut of paint, are you? Yeah, so there's the lines detailing the end of that little story arc that you can do as soon as you can actually access Cable stage, really. Ah, you've been busy. I heard you confronted the power circuit. Cable always was a bit of a loner, keeping his distance. Whether it was pride or arrogance, he preferred to do things alone. It was all about doing things his way this, his way that. Even when there was nothing particularly special about his methods. At times he could even be called a workaholic, if it meant he didn't have to spend time with others. Oh, I think that's enough reminiscing about the past. Care to take a look at my wares? And just to show off the line of dialogue in specific, since I've loaded up an old save here, let's punch this tube repeatedly. Knock that off already. Just leave it be, alright? No. Really now? Do that one more time, and I'll have you pay for the damages. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna need something to fix that.
and you lose 100 money for doing that. You may be a hero, but to me, you're just a nuisance. Doing that is actually an achievement, so if you're trying to get everything, make sure you do that at least once. So now, let's get back to our main save file and go start off the endgame haunts. Notably, at this point, Pat is both your achievement list and your stage select. So if you were looking for how to do that, just talk to Pat. Roger, here are the available mission locations. And now, where the intro stage once was, is where the endgame levels are also placed. Ark Entrance, find Colonel. These are the coordinates Colonel used when he disappeared near the Ark. From what we can tell from here, the area is swarming with Virus Army soldiers. With that interference they're causing, I'm afraid we can't transfer you there directly. It's fine. I'll fight my way through. Yes, sir, Master Kai. Just be careful out there, okay? Transfer to this location? Sure. Roger, prepare for transfer. So, I said Cable's stage started off in a way that reminded me of Sigma 1 from X1. Even more directly is the start of the endgame levels here because, yeah. So the Ark is going to be our standard castle/fortress stage in the standard Mega Man terms. These stages are the longest in the game far and away, and they're also the hardest just because they know you've been through the other stages, so they don't have to worry about holding off on you. They use a lot of the mechanics from the actual stages we've been through before, intermingle them in a couple of ways, but also there's some new mechanics that are also just kind of rough to deal with. With that said, I think easily the hardest thing these stages do is the way they require swinging is precise enough compared to the earlier stages that if you didn't use it a lot, or if you coasted through the earlier game swinging sections by using burst techniques in some form, you could have some issues here. This is partially why I recommend always having at least one burst technique slot dedicated to actually being able to move in a direction that's not up directly. Like the Cycle Kick's good for this, the Gravity Dash is really good for that, as you just saw there. Just make sure you have some form of platforming utility in your burst techniques while you're playing through these levels, as they will help you a lot with the survivability. And even then, if you don't like them for boss fights, you can just swap when you get to the boss fights of a given level. In fact, I don't think I've really touched on this. Remembering the fact that you can swap your burst techniques and enhancement chips at literally any moment is very key to this game, as it can make the difference in your survivability if you're having issues with a specific boss or platforming section just shoot up. To the point where when I first played this on stream, I was having trouble with the final boss. And then I swapped to a specific set of enhancement chips actually closer to what I've been using this entire playthrough. And it all clicked better, and I beat the boss first try after that, effectively. Now, last time we ended up talking about the publishing arms that worked on this game, namely PID Games and Plug-in Digital, but I only really talked about the staff from the PID Games half of that part of the company. So let's talk about the people who were in the main arm of Plug-in Digital that worked on this. The head of content is Kevin Skaton. I don't recognize most of the games they've worked on in some form as a content manager at all, really. The first one I probably recognize that's not one we talked about last time, like Cassiodora, is probably Revita and Splasher, because I remember seeing some footage of that over the years. And they were effectively the same role there. The only other game I recognize their name from that they're listed for is Fort Solis, which is a game that came out in 2023 to relatively, appraisal from people I saw. Big narrative game, sci-fi horror, I want to say. I think Troy Baker was a major character in it. It didn't look like my kind of game, so I didn't look into it, though, beyond that much and hearing things about it from other people I knew. Now, before I move on to the next person, there's actually a neat little thing you can do coming up here. You can slide through this pipe here in the wall to find this hidden room. This is one of the best rooms for grinding money in the game, because you can just grab these 4 chests and move on. This is not a bad level for grinding money in general, but at the same time, as long as you play through a level from the start, you can get a lot of good money from any given stage in the game, really, if you're trying to grind out for burst techniques or enhancement chips you haven't purchased yet. There is something else to that room, but we're not going to be able to show that off until we've beaten the game, and by that I mean, I'll show it off at the end of the part in a jump cut to the future. This is the room where if you're not really good at swinging, you're going to have some issue in this particular stage, unless you use the burst techniques that allow you to move horizontally and laterally in some form alongside the swing. So next up in the credits is the release manager, who is Alizé Ferré. They have worked on a couple of games I recognize the name of, at least over the years, like Revita. I think Recompile I recognize the name of a little bit. Cassiodora. I think the most recent game I recognize that's not this that I recognize the name of they worked on is Vernal Edge and Nocturnal. which they had a very similar role to this. They only worked on the publishing side on that as a content manager and release manager. Next up is the associate release manager, who is Johan Caron. Worked on Port Solis, this, Nocturnal, Vernal Edge, Soldiers, I think I recognize the name of, and Revita. Again, same general publishing arm stuff there. The next person has 2 roles listed, though, for this particular game. Sales and business for Plugin Digital, as well as dev manager, Benjamin Garel. A lot of work in business development, sales and business, dev managing across the games they've worked on, a lot of which are ones that I've already listed from the other people in Plugin Digital itself already in the past few moments. Next up, we get to the localization staff at Roboto Global. A lot of these are just people who are in charge of the project, like the founder and CEO of the company is listed, Bartosz Lewandowski. Most of their credits are as founder and CEO for that company, though they also worked on some audio stuff for Dying Light 2. They did some localization themselves for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, apparently, and that's the remake of Modern Warfare 2. That's not actually Modern Warfare 2, not the actual Modern Warfare 2. The same applies through most of the people actually listed for that company, including the vice president, the head of operations, deputy head of operations, and the project manager. It's when you reach the head of localization and deputy head of localization, you start to see some actual translators. Namely, Paweł Rajowski, who is the deputy head of localization, was a localizer and translator for things like some of the Asterisk games, the Valiant Heart sequel that was on phones first, Modern Warfare 2 remake, once again, Layers of Fear, the remake from last year in specific with that. The core localization team was led by Marco Maffioli, and they comprised of Arnaud Tonel, Catherine Gallo, Christian Hoffman, Eleonora Badalin, Iris Pilzer, Rafael Rodriguez Montenegro, and Sarah Aguirre Garcia Carpintero. A lot of them worked on the same games as each other, though, just in various languages. Some notable highlights: the Cow the Kangaroo PC port, Demon Souls remake, Frank and Drake, Layers of Fear remake, Born of Bread. Christian Hoffman specifically apparently worked on the German stuff for the Etrian Odyssey HD trilogy. But a lot of that, there's also a couple of times you see the Blair Witch remake or new game from a couple of years back that I basically saw no one talk about, including myself, because I didn't care. Meanwhile, the Korean and Japanese localizations were done by Active Gaming Media, which that's a company that does a little bit of everything across the gaming sphere for various companies, but as for what they did in localization specifically, they also did stuff for like Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, the Melty Blood game that came out last couple of years, No More Heroes 1 and 3 they did some stuff for, the Ace Attorney trilogy 1 through 3 they did some stuff for, Ys 8, Nier Automata they also did some work on. Oh, hello there. Scrap, that fool must have already gone further inside the Ark. Ah, seems like you already caught up to me. Gravity Circuit. Do tell, how's that body of yours treating you? This body? What do you mean? Overwhelming strength, incredible speed, amazing abilities. It all makes you feel truly invincible, doesn't it? And yet, even with all that power, your memory banks ring empty. It's a shame, really, having such potential, but not knowing where it came from. Let alone how it actually works. What are you getting at? I'll show you. It's time you learn the truth. Does my appearance surprise you? What? Who are you? What are you? It's simple. I'm the original Gravity Circuit. Or, more accurately, one of its previous hosts. Hosts? You mean there are others? There were others, but unfortunately they are all long gone now. You don't mean... They've met unfortunate fates, yes. That circuit on your forehead, it's not like the others. Where the others are passive after their host perishes, yours has desires. It actively tries to seek a host body so to ensure someone is always wielding it. And the way it accomplishes this is where its namesake comes from. With the power of gravity, it can attract the acquired materials for a new host. Loose parts, various scrap, raw ore, remnants of your foes. It doesn't matter where those materials come from. Sometimes, It might even claim the body of a nearby bot altogether. In the circuit's programming, it's all fair game. So then, what happened years ago was... Back then, at the end of the first Virus Army conflict, this body of mine was in a pretty banged up shape, barely functional. However, instead of destructing, this body ran out of juice to keep going. Without any power to send the copy command, the circuit thought I was already gone. If that command doesn't run, the circuit won't carry any memories of its previous host. That's ultimately what trapped me into this body. Learned that the hard way. And that's when I came into the picture. Yes, you were just an ordinary bot who picked an opportune time to show up. Or, that's what I would like to say, anyway. But I don't know how many coasts you've been through. Or what you were doing before the Virus Army showed up, for that matter. I don't know. By the time I knew what was happening, I was already fighting the Virus Army. Then, it must have been his signal that reawakened us both. His signal? Who are you talking about? There's a great enemy lurking ahead, stronger than anything you've faced. The very source of the Virus Army. His signal has the power to control it in its entirety. Thankfully, same said signal can also awaken us circuits, should we need it. So I was roaming the wilderness mindlessly until he sent out the Virus Army? Precisely. His powers should not be underestimated. As the original gravity circuit, it is my duty to ensure you are up to the task. So, show me you're worthy, other me. This is my favorite theme in the game. I love this boss theme. So y'all like mirror matches? Because that's what Nega is. He can do anything you can do. He can punch, he can slide, he can do the upwards kick to knock you in the way. When you reach the end of his first health bar though, he gains his burst techniques. And does a lot of them in sequence. There's actually an achievement for avoiding all of these in a row. He can do the downwards kick, he can burst forward and all that. It's rough, but as you can see, you can drain through his health pretty quickly as with most boss fights. Watch out for his grappling hook though, that can kind of come out of nowhere. He's not down there for the count though, because now he gets a third health bar. He is faster, he does even more damage here, and he can bring out his burst techniques even more out of nowhere, but because it's only a singular bar of health, if you're good at melting through health, this will be over pretty quickly. He can also notably, I believe, grab a brick out of the ground and power himself out, which might be kind of important. Good. Very good. You truly have surpassed me. I think you're ready to face him. But first, I think it may be best for you to head back to the HQ for now. And what about you? Don't you worry about me. This body might be all banged up, but it's nothing I can't recover from. Now, you go on ahead. I'll catch up to you later. Very well. Don't do anything stupid by yourself. Better you worry about your own paint. Gravity circuit. I love that boss fight. I really like that stage. It goes on a bit long, but it's a really good revisit to a lot of mechanics from the earlier stages, especially cables. But there's also a little bit of a secret there we're going to show off next time. I actually forgot it was at the next part that we do that, not this time. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 10, we continue on through the end game. See you guys then.